cowgirls, vaqueros y vaqueras. Bienvenido, we've got a score to settle. That's right, folks. We're piercing through the veil of so-called child safety. Now, folks, make no mistake. This is a battle to ensure the internet is censored, monitored, and controlled by the government. But let's get into the facts. Now, I want you to take a look here. There was two landmark verdicts against social media platforms recently. I want to say the case is closed technically. The plaintiffs definitely won the case and were awarded, as you can see here. Now, as a society, though, I think it's a failure on the society. But let's go through the article before we get into the debate per se. Now, two landmark verdicts against social media platforms, and one, a Los Angeles jury awarded $6 million. Of course, Los Angeles. I want to say the capital of the SJWs. All right, and one, a Los Angeles jury awarded $6 million to a woman who got addicted to social media when she was 6 years old. Now, folks, there's a lot to unpack there just with this sentence alone. Now, we're not gonna start looking up the immediate facts for these statements that I'm gonna follow up with, but women are reporting to have I'm saying close to 50% or more. Women are claiming to have mental disorders diagnosed professionally in surveys. Now, this is, let's make this clear. She is claiming 6 years old when the problem was. Now, if that is the case, isn't it the duty of the parents to ensure their child does not get, quote, addicted to social media? Now, this begs the question, doesn't it? Is it society's responsibility to take care of, I want to say children in general? I disagree. For one, parental rights. For two, God-given rights. And for three, there's a few facts. I'm not sure if you viewers have seen my a previous video that I pushed out. It's on CPS. But the facts are there if you are so curious to indulge in your curiosity. Now, the fact of the matter is that 82% of so-called, I want to say, allegations of child abuse are unsubstantiated. Now, folks, of those that are substantiated, about 76% is considered neglect. Now, I would say, if they were to make that claim, I would go as so far. I mean, based on them winning on this case, right? That it is neglect. They are neglecting the child. Now, as we go forward in the article, it is obviously not portrayed in this light. It is blamed on the social media platforms themselves. Now, folks, I am here as a neutral party. I have my gripes and I have my likes when it comes to the social media platforms. But I digress on that front for the moment, for the time being. So, of those substantiated cases, I want to say that those children that go into the actual foster care system, let's presume that you know, having parents raise their children is a terrible idea. That the facts, they don't, by the way. I told you they were 82% unsubstantiated, 76% of those substantiated were neglect. We're not talking about serious violent crime. However, neglect can be dangerous. By God, I'm telling you right now, that is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying neglect can't lead to serious child harm. However, we have some serious considerations we have to make, because 42%, I'm saying 42% of children in foster care are more likely to have higher mortality rates. That's right. The mortality rate is 42% higher in foster care. That is almost 50%, people. You're going to tell me that the state knows how to take care of children more based on these facts? Impossible. Impossible. So not only are these allegations, for the most part, absurd, over 80%, but on top of that, once we get the children in the foster care system, they're facing a 42% mortality rate. That's insane. Now let's continue into the actual article, see what's going on. A Los Angeles jury on March 25, 2026 awarded a total of $6 million to a 20-year-old for not being able to control herself, or her parents not being able to control their daughter. Now, that's an interesting question, folks. Who raised this KGM? Was she raised by two parents? Were they foster parents? Was there a step parent involved? Was it a single mother? Now, these are all genuinely reasonable questions to ask y'all. Because if you look at the crime statistics now, children, inmates, how do I put this? People, children who grow up are much significantly, I don't have a number for you right now, but they are significantly more likely to end up in prison compared to those that are raised in both biological parents, or single fathers raising them. Now, folks, I tried. I mean, I really tried to look, scrounge around on terms of like statistics behind the amount of cases with respect to women winning child custody, but it's pretty overwhelming that the courts usually favor the women. Now there's a reason for that. It's centuries old. It's escaping my mind now. But let's continue here into the article. The jury found that the Google and Meta were negligent in the design of their app apps and fail to adequately warn users about risk. Now, from my understanding, this is like a warning label on a hot cup of coffee, or a warning label on cigarettes. General warning labels. This is the problem, apparently. Now, folks, this is like saying that we need to put warning labels on books because there is a possibility that once you read the book, you may be somehow radicalized. Just think about that, folks. Or brainwash or brain damage of some sort. Or be addicted to books. This is just so absurd that we need, I will say, it is just as absurd that we need hot warning labels on hot coffee. But I digress. But this is where we're at in society. Now, the jury held that Meta should be responsible for 70% of the payout, and Google should bear the remaining 30%. ByteDance and Snap settled with KGM before the trial began. I would love to know what them numbers are, but it is what it is. Now, folks, I'm not sure if you've been on the Snapchat, but it is quite the degenerate social media platform. I'll say I've been guilty of it. However, this is going to be a hypocritical remark because at the time, I want to say I didn't understand its purpose and how it was supposed to be used with interacting with people, I want to say. I've changed quite a bit since then in terms of using it. However, the point remains that the social media platforms themselves should have no responsibility whatsoever on how its users interact with them. Unless it's an attack on the system itself to shut it down and make an inconvenience for everybody else, such as like a hacker or somebody trying to steal information or something like that, folks. That's obviously reasonable because it affects everybody. Correct? Now, children. It should affect the family, not society as a whole. Because it is the parents' responsibility. I just said the state is incompetent. Those are the facts. The state is incompetent, folks. We cannot rely on the state to take care of our children. Therefore, we must prioritize the success of the parents. Now, that's going to jump into a whole other can of worms, but let's continue. She is one of more than 1,600 plaintiffs using various social media platforms for mental health harms in the master complaint of JCCP 5255. Now, let's go click on this. I'm just curious now. All right, here it is, folks. Now, I had an older version pulled up here, filed by the school districts. We can take a look at that in a minute now. Hold on now. File September 2025. Let's see here. Quite extensive. See if there was an answer here. No, this is the initial plugin. So we can go ahead. Let's see. Plaintiffs in these coordinated proceedings are minor users of social media platforms or parents of those users who allege they have suffered various types of harm as a result of the use of the platforms, folks. To me, this is like I want to say it's like playing video games or reading books or any form of information consumption, whether it's fantasy, nonfiction, or fiction. How ridiculous it is that people are going out of their way to not be self-responsible. Just people are so irresponsible that they are trying to have other entities, the government or otherwise corporations, be held liable for their own decisions. I digress, folks. Plaintiffs bring their claims against multiple defendants. Look at this: Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube. It's absurd. Alrighty, folks. Alright, defendants argue the plaintiff's experts generally fail to offer reliable opinions for two reasons. Experts offer cautioned opinions that rely on purported impact of content. First Amendment preclude a finding of liability for harm caused by third-party content found on defendants' platforms. Now, folks, the Communication Decency Act. Now, I went into this rabbit hole. Basically, folks, the Communication Decency Act, folks, it is an act that protects third-party providers, let's say like, internet services. They're not going to be held liable for some sort of claim that somebody is using for, let's give an example. I want to say internet provided. I don't know why this is AT&T. I know that they don't even exist anymore. It went into some other company. It escapes. But let's say AT&T, right? So if somebody is making some outlandish political claims on the internet, they're not held. AT&T is not going to be held liable for that. For that matter, let's say I want to say Reddit. If somebody is posting something on Reddit that may be considered of poor taste, Reddit is not going to be held liable for those statements. That this is essentially what that act does in layman's terms. Now, let's see it here. According to the defendants, plaintiffs, experts consistently offer opinions that overtly rely on or fail to disaggregate the impact of third-party content on mental health, and that are universally premised on a body of scientific literature that does the same. Right, that makes sense. This is perhaps saying the literature itself. This is something I came up with, but the literature that proves that these social media platforms are inherently making mental health worse, and the fact that this is personally what I'm coming up with, but that reading research itself means you can get addicted to reading research. Now I don't think that's going to happen. However, the second, defendants argue the plaintiff's experts violate the standards of reliability set out by Sargon Enterprises, Inc. versus University of Southern California. These recurring flaws, which include extrapolating from the data, cherry picking across and even within studies, failing to account for alternative explanations for study findings, and proffering opinions that contradict the experts' own statements in non-litigation contexts are discussed in detail in the defendant's concurrently filed expert-specific sorghum motions. Now, folks, they won the case. All right, so the research that they collected was indeed legitimate. We're not going to go into that, folks. We're not going to debate all this hard work that these people. But I'm not saying, hey, folks. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that because there are plenty of research studies that are questionable, that they have questionable methods. If you've seen my Exposing Lies episode on AP News and gun-free zones, you'll see that the way that research the data is collected, a lot of the times it's ridiculous. They argue semantics to justify the means of the results. In other words, instead of which what we would all assume science should be, which is objective, unbiased, non-politicized. It in fact is, folks. Now, right? Let's continue. Let's continue, folks. The master complaint alleges that the internet platforms, specifically Meta and Instagram, Snapchat, ByteDance, TikTok, Google, YouTube, have targeted children with social media apps purposely engineered to attract and addict the youth. Folks, this is like saying any company that goes door to door soliciting or putting some sort of advertisement, right, is attempting to addict you, folks, addict you to the service they're trying to provide you. It's so absurd, folks. It is so absurd. Now, I want y'all to take a look at this real quick. Now, this one over here, quickly, folks, this is the same case. This is the JCCP 5255. Now, this one specifically is the school districts were a part of the plaintiffs, not just the KGM and other plaintiffs. It's about 2,400 plaintiffs, I believe, that are participating in more or less. Now, the school districts themselves, they lost the case. The courts decided that the school districts did not have a direct inherent, I believe, don't quote me, but not a direct. It did not influence them directly. In other words, they're suggesting that the schools, since they have no legitimate direct influence over the children, because obviously it's the parents that should have that sole duty due to custody. That's why the courts decided that the school district should lose. But folks, this is alarming, folks, that you have so many citizens and schools and other organizations coming after these social media platforms. And I'll tell you why. Here is another similar case, folks. I believe it's also happening in California. I believe that this one is in Oakland, though. Now, this one is MDL number 3047. Now, the plaintiff in the action listed on Schedule A, Anderson's, moves under panel rule 7.1 to vacate the panel's order conditionally transferring her action to MDL number 3047, defendants TikTok Inc. and ByteDance Inc. Together, TikTok opposed the motion to vacate. After After considering the arguments of counsel, we find that this action involves common questions of fact, with actions compromising MDL number 3047. Correction, 3047. And the transfer under 28 USC Section 1407 will serve the convenience, of the parties and witnesses and promote the just and efficient conduct of litigation. When we first centralized this litigation, we found that the actions involve factual questions arising the allegations that defendants' social media platforms are defective because they are designed to maximize user screen time, which can encourage addictive behavior in adolescents. Plaintiffs allege defendants were aware but failed to warn the public that their platforms were harmful to minors. See and read Social Media Adolescent Addiction Personal Injury Clause Liability Litigation 637 Foxtrot Supplement 3D 1377 1378. Well, that was a mouthful. All right, the MDL actions share questions of fact concerning whether social media platforms encourage addictive behavior, fail to verify users' ages, encourage adolescents to bypass parental controls, and inadequately safeguard against harmful content and or intentionally amplify harmful and exploitative content. Now, folks, this is incredibly frustrating. Now, I'm going to read this to you. I'm going to, how do I explain this? I'm going to extrapolate what the true purpose of these claims are. Now, encourage addictive behavior. Now, folks, there are so many different addictions that are not what first comes to mind to people, such as drugs that change the state of mind, which includes cigarettes and alcohol and psychedelics and all that. Now, addictive behavior, you have gambling addiction. At the end of the day, folks, this is an individual responsibility. For children, it is a parent's responsibility. Now let's go to fails to verify users' ages. Folks, since the dawn of time, the government has done everything in its power to limit the freedom of speech, folks, the freedom of expression, the freedom of religion. This is a part of it, folks. Verifying users' ages. Now, folks, essentially, this is like having a bouncer at a fucking library. Pardon my language, but this is very absurd. It's like having a bouncer at a library checking IDs to ensure two things are happening, folks, to ensure that adults are having access to the information, but the more importantly, folks, identity. Your identity is being verified, and the information is being linked to your identity, so you can be categorized and profiled. That is the purpose of this. Make no mistake, folks. This is what the purpose of this whole verifying user identity of ages and identity. Now, encourage. Well, with that, okay, folks, I gotta go back to this. With that information, folks, the government can make any kind of claim make you guilty of whatever you're interested in. It could be for makeup. You could have these corporations and agencies collecting information because you're trying to create a new brand of makeup, and perhaps they could steal your intellectual property rights, or they could. I don't foresee. Oh yes, okay. How about negligence when you're creating this makeup product and you get all these people sick through, and now it is without a warrant. All this information is already collected, and they can put up this case. Or before you even sell the product, before you can even have it tested, the government shows up and arrests you. And I have to bring up makeup because it is a female product, and it seems like we're having a failure of moral upholding from the female community. That's why I'm bringing this up specifically. But I want them or you, if this is relevant, to realize that it is everybody. You need to have a bit of imagination to understand this, that this can affect everybody in every category. This is not a good thing. Now, encourage adolescents to bypass parental controls. Now, folks, this is just ridiculous. I'll tell you why. Encourage adolescents to bypass. For fuck's sakes, folks, children cannot have their own, they can't work at a job without having parental consent to be able to purchase products or what. So at the end of the day, folks, it is the parents' responsibility, and it should not be the state's, because it's been, you gotta see my CSP video, but it's been nearly half or more than half a century, folks, and we've had some laws and programs and infrastructure to assist in mitigating child abuse, and they are failing to this very day, this moment, as we live and breathe and speak and preach. They are failing. 42% mortality rate for children in the foster care system. That is unacceptable, folks. And 82% unsubstantiated of those allegations. Now, I believe we can move past this, right? Encourage kids are not buying phones and buying a service provider so they can bypass parental control. No, it is the parents are allowing this to happen because they're incompetent, folks. Or here's the thought. Perhaps this pressure created from the society, from the government, it's a top-down. It's a top-down that is stimulated by a small portion of crazy people. That's what they are, crazy people, factually crazy people, attempting to make these outrageous, outlandish claims about how morality should be perceived, and thereby creating an apparatus that does not allow parents to properly raise their children out of fear of government intervention. CSP, police, that's what I'm referring to. Now, now let's go to inadequately safeguard against harmful content and or intentionally amplify harmful and exploitative content. Folks, I don't know how you feel. I mean, I think it would be nice if you could turn off the algorithm. Just turn it off. That would be convenient. It would be a nice feature to have. Maybe you wanna, one of these days you just wanna see a baker bake some buns. Some nice toasted buns. Spread some butter on them buns. Just observe that. Maybe you don't want to see, you don't want to hear me or anybody talking about doomsday and politics and all this. That's all completely reasonable. I think that this is something that they could implement out of this as a result of this case. But folks, isn't it convenient, incredibly convenient when you're just interested in a few things and they just gather all that information and put it easily accessible for you with these algorithms? How can they insinuate that this is harmful? If there has to be intent involved for there to be harm. But that's what's going on, folks. This is another case that's I believe it's going to be happening soon. It's going to be this one's 2025, folks. And considering the success of this case, folks, this one is probably going to pass through as well, folks. And all it's going to do is put pressure on these social media companies to do ridiculous things. This is just going to piss off a bunch of people. They're going to get more lawsuits if they try to implement these ideas, because it's going to impact First Amendment speech, folks. Now, this is going to go into a whole other video, which I'm going to address at some point in time in the future. But Miami Herald versus some gentleman, I forgot. But essentially, what that Supreme Court case boiled down to was any forum. By the way, folks, every social media platform is a forum of some sort. You have news agencies and all kinds of things out there putting political opinions or religious opinions and all that. It's a protected right. So this whole Section 203 protecting social media companies, allowing them to avoid somehow the whole Miami Herald Supreme Court case. It's all finicky. This is all happening in real time, folks. We're living in a very dangerous time. That's what it is, folks, because our ability to be able to access information is being threatened. That's what it is, folks. It's nice to, enjoy movies and watch cartoons and play video games and all that jazz on the internet. But at the end of the day, the most important thing about the internet is at least in my opinion, is the access to information. It's a library on the go, but extremely convenient. Now, obviously, you can make the argument, this is philosophical wise, and it doesn't even have to, you can prove it, but most people don't really use it for information to solve a lot of necessary problems, reasonable problems in day-to-day life. But that's besides the point. That's the threat, folks. An informed society should keep, I would, well, considering this is another whole topic, folks. But the data's showing up that we have almost half of the students graduating from high school who can't even read at the third grade level. Now, don't quote me on that, but it's something absurd like that, folks. So we have serious problems to address in this nation. There is definitely some sort of war. It is a non-kinetic war going on against the American people, folks. And at least in 2020, it was kinetic in the fact that you had, police and National Guard and all kinds of government forces going around patrolling the streets and doing martial law and all kinds of crazy. let's continue. Now, KGM's case was the first bellwether trial in California's coordinated social media cases, JCC. So there's more to come, folks. Pending in Los Angeles Superior Court before Judge Caroline B. Cole. Alrighty. Let's see here. Notably, Lanier relied in this part of internal company documents and executive testimony to argue the platforms knew the young users were especially vulnerable. Now, folks, I'm not here to defend the inexcusable measures that these companies take. I know, folks, that there are predators. This is an extreme example, but there are predators out there. I mean, what is that one game called? I can't remember at the top of my head now. Roblox. That's right. Roblox. They did not want to lose the predators on the platforms because they were profiting off of these predators, and it was proven. And now, from what I've heard, there's extreme measures being taken now on the Roblox and all that. I mean, I played a little bit of Roblox, but I mean, it's not for me. I believe that platform should be dedicated. Not should be dedicated. I mean, anybody should be able to play any game, but I don't know. I'm gonna sound a bit masculine here, folks. It's not for me, folks. I'm a grown ass man. I need to see some adult oriented content, and I don't need sexually explicit by that inherently. I'm not saying it shouldn't have that, but a nice balance, folks. That's how life is. It should be, at least. It's unbalanced because of all these extremes that we keep covering. In every facet of our lives, but I'll digress. Let's continue here. One of the documents stated that the goal is not viewership; it's the viewer addiction. That is alarming, folks. I will say that. To win big with teens, that's also alarming. According to the Courthouse News Service, KGM told jurors that she began using YouTube at the age of 6 and Instagram at 9 and was on social media all day long. Folks, how are you not going to tell me that is not the parents' fault, folks? I don't care, folks. I don't care. I don't want to hear no damn excuse about, oh, they got to work 8 hours, 10 hours, folks. That is a whole other can of worms to open up for folks. If you have children, that is the priority. It is a priority. I know, obviously, you need to work, folks. But the priority, and by the way, folks, besides it being a priority, it sounds like just some menial task like brushing your teeth that you need to complete every single day, or your teeth are going to fall out and you get all kinds of problems. Now, folks, children are a blessing from God. It is the most honorable, the most decent, the most fulfilling thing you could possibly do in your entire life. I pray that I have that experience one day, but now the fact of the matter is, folks, that it is the parents' responsibility. And it should be, because clearly the state is too incompetent to be responsible for the children. Now, let's continue here. She said the apps left her anxious, depressed, and insecure. Folks, now if you take a look at these apps, folks, it is obvious. You gotta take a look, folks. You gotta take a look here, folks. What you gotta look at, folks, is how the child was raised. The child has to go through the steps necessary to build the fortitude to go through and not be experiencing these types of emotions in life. So I want to say that it's all the social media, which could be considered a form of neglect. This is an argument that could be made that it's a form of neglect that could be charged and observed, something that could be added in the future. Now, I don't agree with this, because personally I think parental rights should be prioritized, and as a matter of fact, there should be more parental rights. I believe that there is an attack on the family, personally, and that is, you can take a look at the CPS video, and you can see how the family is being attacked, and how the data suggests that the government should not have, only in extreme cases, folks, should the government be involved, because folks, you just got to take a look at the video. I do an extensive breakdown, but basically they're too incompetent, folks. The government is too incompetent to handle the job. She also suffered from suicidal thoughts and began cutting herself. Folks, that's the parents' responsibility. They should have noticed that, folks. And look at the amount of time, folks. She was on there she got on there at 6 years old. She's having this problem at what is it? I believe this one, she started experiencing, this is 6 years old, right? Well, from here to here, there's 10 years, 4 years that's happened, from 6 to 4. 4 years. For 4 years, the family did not address the problem. Now, I don't know why. I'm not sure if, they can make that whole argument that it's because they were working too hard, or perhaps the parents were fighting, maybe it was a single mother. Whatever the situation could have been, folks, it went on for 4 years. Now, design features such as augmented reality beauty filters, folks, augmented reality beauty filters have been going on for millennia. People have been doing all kinds of things to alter their bodies, to make it look some certain way. You need fathers. You need fathers in these children's lives to give them fortitude, mental and physical fortitude, to overcome everything that life throws at these children. Meta, on the other hand, somewhat sensibly argued that it was her turbulent home life that caused the mental health issues. Now, folks, this is a great. Meta made a good statement by saying that. Somewhat sensible. Let's see that. Let's see what was somewhat sensible. How to reclaim childhood in a rich country. All right. I don't see how that is related specifically to this case. But that is a great argument, folks. What was the circumstances behind KGM's living? Considering the disasters of the court system removing fathers from the consistent raising of single mothers raising children, and the statistical significance of those children being more likely to end up in prison. Consider the fact that you have in the largest diagnosed claim cases of professional diagnosed cases of mental health disorders. And by the way, it's in the United States is experiencing this the most, folks. This is not like, it's increased overall in the world. However, it is significantly increased in the United States. And I don't know. I'm not here to advocate for any other country, but I know for this country specifically, the court systems are not in favor of the fathers. And the statistics suggest that those children that are raised in two biological parent households or the father household have no significant statistical difference when it comes in terms of the chances of those children getting into the prison system. So you have mental health, crime, and I don't even want to blame the women. I want to blame the government for making this happen in the first place. This is a government problem. The fact that the government thinks that they gotta be involved in all these aspects of our lives. But let's continue. Alternatives for Meta and Google pointed instead of other factors that drove her anxiety and depression, including learning disability, real-life bullying, the use of other platforms like TikTok and Snapchat. Folks, these are all reasonable claims to make, folks. All things that should have been looked into. That's another thing. Learning disabilities have been growing. Folks, now this is a female child. However, it is proven that men and women, as they grow as children, they learn differently, folks. They just do. The manner in which you're supposed to teach children based on their sex when they're born, it's different. The boys have to be playing outside physically, doing all kinds of things. The girls can do the more traditional method of schooling inside the classrooms and all that jazz. They argued that her dad left when she was very young, leaving her in the care of a single mother. Folks, what did I tell you? What did I tell you, folks? What was I talking about earlier, folks? Whose behavior was allegedly erratic. At the times, quiet, loving, and supportive, and others physically and emotional abusive. They also cited testimony that her older sister had attempted suicide and suffered from an eating disorder, according to reporting from the trial. Notably, plaintiffs in another landmark social media lawsuit in New Mexico against Meta alone, with a further remedies phase still to come. The New Mexico lawsuit was a state enforcement action brought by the Attorney General under the state consumer protection law. It focused more heavily on misleading safe representations, child exploitation risks, and unfair practices. Here we go, folks. Yes, let's let the government tell us how we should be consuming our information. Let's let the government tell us how we're supposed to raise our children. It's just, folks, it's mind-boggling the amount of how irresponsible people are not willing to be responsible, folks. It's crazy. People are not willing to stand up for themselves. The state claimed that Meta failed to address child sexual abuse material and sexual exploitation of children on the platforms. It focused more heavily on misleading safety representations, exploitation. Okay. Alrighty. Was and is aware that its platforms are being used to, that is frustrating, are being used to target, groom, sexually exploit, and traffic children. Folks, that's a whole other problem that we got going on, folks. You got the Epstein files. From the Epstein files, you found out that we got these. What is it? The photo, media company agencies come into the schools, taking pictures of kids, making these these what is it called, the books, those yearbooks or whatever, and the basically collecting the information of these children, put them out there, and is being used to later be target. It's a whole systematic. The government. The government has created this apparatus of child human trafficking with CSP, with allowing these third-party companies to come in and gather intelligence on these children to be later distributed and sold to the highest bidder. Folks, I mean, these levels of evil they're remarkable, folks. They're remarkable in a way it's disgusting. It's grotesque, folks. It's just vile. Together, the Los Angeles and New Mexico lawsuits reflect a bolder shift away from disputes over third-party content and toward claims centered on platform design, safety failures, and harm to minors. Folks, even the wording around this, folks, the whole purpose behind this, folks, it's not to save the children. If they were going to save the children, folks, they would return the parental rights. All these cases, since there's 82% of these allegations are unsubstantiated, they would allocate the resources properly to ensure that the agencies are more competent, that the foster homes are folks, I can't implore you more to go check out my CSP video, but it's definitely a problem that the government, it's a government problem, folks. I don't know how else to explain this, and they're trying to take your freedom by saying, oh, we want to implement these safety features online. They're not trying to implement safety features, folks. That's not safe. The only safety is being anonymous from the government, being able to learn whatever you want to without repercussions. The government shouldn't dictate how you live your life, folks. That they have no business. It is the First Amendment, folks. It was there. It's all there. And then you have the Fourth and Fifth and all these other cases that have occurred. That you have a right to privacy, folks. You have these rights. They have no this is out of the jurisdiction, folks. The government's purpose is supposed to be responsive, not active. They're not supposed to be proactively trying to imprison people. This isn't Minority Report. This isn't 1984. Folks, that is how the government's supposed to work. Something happens, it's criminal, then there's a warrant, then they can collect the information, then you go to court, then you have, your lawyer present, your lawyer represents you, they have the prosecutor, and it's settled that way, folks. And then you can go further, you can go to the Supreme Court, all the way to the Supreme Court if you need to with that case. That is the right, that is how it's supposed to be done, folks. Well, that's the end of the article, folks. There's a lot to unpack from this, folks. There's a lot of different topics that have to be covered and I'm gonna have to be jumping around back and forth to be able to address all these factors, because there's just so many things that are intertwined when it comes to this. So but that's what we're covering today, folks. And remember, there's still more cases going on, folks. There's still more cases going on. And folks, I don't want these platforms. Folks, I'm not protecting these platforms because they don't protect your information even if they had these implementations put into effect, folks. Now, I want you to take a look at this, folks. Now, Discord recently getting global age assurance right, what we got wrong and what's changing. Discord made these claims, folks. They are trying to get into the whole age verification thing, folks. Now, this is I want to say this is an admission of guilt, folks. This is the representative, Stanislav Vinsky. Whatever. All right. So Vin, right? He's putting out this statement. Let me be upfront. He's representing Discord. Let me be upfront. We knew this rollout was going to be controversial, so they knew this was going to be a problem. Anytime you introduce something that touches identity and of course, folks, I shouldn't have a fucking bouncer ID me, take my identity down when I'm trying to fucking buy a book from a fucking library, because this is essentially what it is. That's what the internet is. It's information. Anytime you introduce something that touches on identity verification, people are going to have strong feelings. Rightfully so. In hindsight, we should have provided more detail about our intentions and how the process works. The way this landed, many of you walked away thinking we're required to... That's an admission of guilt, folks. I don't know what I said to tell you. The way this landed, many of you walked away thinking we're requiring face scans and ID uploads from everyone just to use Discord. Now, folks, hackers, folks, have been infiltrating these companies left and right. I mean, you can take a look at Crunchyroll, folks, which was something recent that happened. And credit card information was stolen. And then you have Windows Pilot, which is an AI that's taking constant pictures. By the way, if you have that on a computer, you need to go and, folks, basically this thing has been taking photos, like screenshots of your computer and storing this on an open database on the internet. So all your credit card information, everything that you've been typing, everything you've been looking up is up there. No warrant, nothing up there somewhere on the internet. So definitely might want to take a look at that, because there's a lot of people that have been affected. I'm worried about it. I mean, I got my own thing to look into here, but that's it. All right. Anyways, that's not what's happened. But the fact that so many people believe it tells us that we failed at our most basic job. Clearly explaining what we're trying to do. Folks, what we need to do, folks, is we need to push back on this. They pushed back on this, folks. That's why they even made this statement to begin with. Our goal, straightforward, is to keep the experience completely unchanged for the vast majority of people while using an age-appropriate experience for everyone. Over 90% of users will never need to verify their age to continue using Discord exactly as they do today. I doubt that, folks. I don't. If you're among the less than 10%, we'll give you the option designed to tell us only your age and never your identity. And if you choose not to verify, here's exactly what happens. You keep your account, your service, your friends list, and DMs. The only thing, I guess this is somewhat reasonable. I'm not sure exactly what the circumstances are behind this. Your age group is private. No one on the folks. We're in the middle of a non-kinetic war, as I told you here, folks. It's a psychological. It is not. It is a law. It's all of those things. It's non-kinetic warfare. And I believe that's everything I want to cover here today, folks. But it's a serious issue, folks. We need to take this. We need to take this to heart. And we need to start pushing back on all of this because our society is as a whole is literally collapsing. Our birth rate is less than I believe it's 2 to 1 that is necessary, 2.1 or 2.3, to be able to sustain the society, and that is the major collapse, and it's due to that stems from the fact that our society has become what is it called? It's called the sexual revolution. Whenever any society experiences sexual revolution, degeneracy, this is what occurs. It immediately starts to decline, the birth rate goes down, and we disappear. And the only way to supplement it, and the only way we're going to get out of this is, at this point, is if we reverse course and we start taking in a bunch of immigrants that will eventually raise the prices of all products, all domestic products, which is going to cause all kinds of problems, which you're seeing today with the housing markets and all that. And yes, this is how it is connected to what we're talking about today, folks, because this is an attack on information, and is being perpetrated by the fact that it's because it's to protect children's safety, which is ultimately should be the parents' responsibility, and it should be the parents' responsibility due to the fact that the government is too incompetent to be able to handle children as a whole. And you can see it because over time, as children's parental rights have been attacked and removed, and the courts have been favoring women, mothers in the courts, and everything has been culminating to this point where that all these problems with the human trafficking and all that is because we've been moving towards this experiment that it's a failed experiment of this utopia that all these people, I want to say these people have fantasies, and these people that have mental health problems have been pushing this society towards, and it's also government operated and corporation operated because it benefits. It's all about money at the end of the day, folks. Our demise is their success. They don't have to pay. They're paying less for the immigrants that are coming in compared to the workers. That's why it's better to just hire them, because they're indentured servants because they're on a visa. They don't need to pay them as much, and they can threaten not to pay them as much, because then they can leave if they don't take the deal. Because that's a whole other topic, folks. But anyway, that's all we got for today, folks. Thanks for coming out, cowboys, cowgirls, vaqueros y vaqueras. Stay free, stay frosted, stay blessed.